Hey everyone. You know, it's it's kind of difficult to talk about this. A lot of us this past Sunday were not happy when the WWE decided to end the streak and go from having a possible 22-0 for The Undertaker to 21-1. It's one thing for us to be upset about that, and rightfully so. But then, something happens that pales in comparison to that. When it was announced back in January, around January and February, that the Ultimate Warrior was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, we were happy. We were thrilled. Every one of us that had grown up on WWE and grown up with the Ultimate Warrior were as happy as could be that things had finally come full circle and that he was coming home. Well, that happiness suddenly turned to sorrow. Because as glad as we were to see him finally, once again, in person at the WWE Hall of Fame this past Saturday, and to see him walk out with the other Hall of Famers during the introduction at WrestleMania 30, and to see him make his return to Raw in almost 20 years. It was all great. It was all happiness. But then, like I said, that happiness turned to sorrow. Yesterday, as you can tell, I'm still a little tired. But yesterday, I went into work without a wink of sleep. And not because of the fact that I was still happy about watching WrestleMania and enjoying it this year. But because my schedule at my job had me work 4 hours the previous evening and then had me come in for 7.5 hours the next morning. So yeah. I didn't get a wink of sleep at all because mostly I'd slept most of the day or half the day away in my bed before I went to work on Monday. So I didn't get to sit here at home in front of this big screen or in front of my television in my room and watch Warriors return. I had to watch it through YouTube and the WWE channel on YouTube. And as glad as I was to see him back there, and as happy as I was to see him kind of put the face paint back on, even if it was a mask, as I'm saying for a third time, that happiness turned to sorrow and turned to shock. Because less than 24 hours later, we get reports that the Ultimate Warrior had passed away. Now what's funny about this is when it was first tweeted out by Triple H, Paul Levesque, and Stephanie McMahon Levesque, a lot of people pretty much figured it could be a hoax. Maybe some people probably figured it was just storyline based to get more heat on the characters so we can hate them more. But as time went on, more outlets started to report this. TMZ, the WWE website itself, NBC News that is, ESPN, Sports Center, Fox Sports. Just a peripheral of a lot of outlets out there started to report it. And it was hard to believe. It was hard to believe that within the past 3 days we had seen him, and now he was gone. And no one knew why. No one knew how. It's like, here he is, he has a DVD out, a new and improved 3-disc DVD, 2-disc Blu-ray set that actually has him talking, actually has interviews with him telling it as it is. Here you have him talking to WWE.com. And now all of a sudden, he's gone. A lot of people said that if you watch closely, and I did watch a bit of WrestleMania today, especially when he came out during the Hall of Fame introduction, you could tell that he wasn't himself. He wasn't the warrior that would show up on YouTube, on his YouTube channel, and say things. Instead, something was off. Some people say you could tell just by the way he was acting at the Hall of Fame ceremony. Some could say you could see it a little bit when he came out doing WrestleMania and he's holding his hand over his chest from one hand to the next hand. And that you could see it on Monday Night Raw as well. And what's funny about it is what he said on Raw. And it's almost like how apropos that he says this, and within 24 hours later, he passes on. Like I said, it's kind of hard to even accept it. You know, because he's a guy that I grew up with. In fact, back when me and my sisters were kids, my older sister was more of a fan of his than I was. I was more Hogan, she was more Warrior. But I started to like the Warrior as well. I really got behind him. And it's no shame to say that you were a fan of both guys. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in saying you were a fan of both Warrior and Hogan. It was always great to see both men team up together. Because you knew it was like a super-powered superhero team coming together. An unstoppable force, if you will, that cannot be defeated. So it was always great to see that. In fact, I remember one of my fondest memories was dressing up as the Ultimate Warrior for Halloween. I was in the 5th grade, between the 4th and the 5th grade, at Eldridge Elementary School in Hayward, California. And my mom and dad went out and bought me, I believe at a Kmart, an Ultimate Warrior costume. A plastic with a plastic body chest, if you will, kind of like a plastic body chest, plastic streamers, and a plastic warrior mask. And I remember my mom was there for our parade, and she took a picture of me and my classmates. And I remember kind of posing a little bit like this in that picture because I was pretending to be the warrior that day. It's one of the fondest memories I've ever had. I also remember as a wrestling fan, '90, I believe, 1991, Well, 1992 actually. My family and I were traveling. We were moving from here to Kansas and back again. And I remember we stopped at a hotel. I don't know if it was on a weekday or a weekend. And we tuned into TV, and me and Shannon, me and my older sister Shannon, she still used to like watching wrestling at that time. And we would watch it. And I remember one time we tuned into Superstars. And this was after WrestleMania. This was after WrestleMania 8. And all of a sudden you see this big warrior symbol on the screen, and they say they're going to talk about the return of the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania. And my older sister, she's watching this, and she's like, he's back? He's back? You know, she's like, he's back? Warrior's back? And we were both happy about that. I remember reading somewhere back in the mid-90s, he'd come back again to WWE in 96 to be part of the new generation. So within time, so here's a guy that basically was part of the Federation, major part of the Federation years, and had a major small part in the new generation years. So that was pretty cool. And then I remember specifically 1998, he made his debut in WCW. The one place you never thought he'd show up in, and here he was. I remember back like anybody else in 1994, when they brought in the Renegade, I thought, what'd they do? I looked at him, I'm thinking, is that the Warrior, or is that somebody who's supposed to be like the Warrior? You know? But yeah, they had brought in Renegade, and I'm sure a lot of people like me thought it was Warrior at first, but then took a closer look and said, oh, that's not Warrior, but it looks like him. It was just hard to imagine that he's gone now. It's just hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine that he's gone, and all these memories keep flooding back. I like the fact that in '98, that we pretty much knew he was coming. I mean, when you have Diamond Dallas Page come out and tell Hogan he's the only guy you've never beaten. He's the only guy that's pinned you cleanly in that ring. When you have DDP coming out and giving out those hints, you pretty much know as a wrestling fan, he's talking about the freaking Ultimate Warrior, and he was. Now, it is a shame that he couldn't be called Ultimate Warrior in WCW. He was just called the Warrior. And I understand it's due to copyright infringement. But still, it was great. It was great to see him. I even remember sitting at home in Oskaloosa, Kansas, and watching Nitro, and watching him team up with Sting. And this was at a time when Sting was part of the Wolfpack, going up against Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan. And yeah, I do remember watching the highlights, and then finally watching what everybody called an abysmal rematch at Halloween Havoc. It's hard to say anything here, folks, because of the fact that it's just so surprising. you know, the thing is, the last thing I expected to come home to yesterday, tired or not, was to finding out that the Warrior had passed on. So, but again, just so many great memories. And I love the fact that WWE, despite their differences with him even years ago, and even after resolving them, and even before, and even, years ago, and even currently, I love the fact that they basically acknowledge that there are still Warrior fans. And that fans wanted the Warrior in the video games, and they got him. So, to me, there's so many great memories. And it's still a shock. It's still sad to know that he's gone. I mean, again, like I said at the beginning, a lot of us complain. Schleg Daddy, Jeff Siegel, and many others. We all complain about the streak ending and how it shouldn't have been broken. And that if it should have been broken, it should have been broken by someone up and coming. Yet again, as great as The Undertaker's undefeated streak was, and as shocking as it was to see it get broken at WrestleMania 30, it pales in comparison to the Ultimate Warrior's passing. I mean, here's something that we didn't see come. Here's something we knew was going to happen, but we thought it would be when he was a lot older. We didn't think it would be around the time of his introduction into the Hall of Fame and his official return to WWE. We didn't think it was going to be that way. We didn't think it was going to be now. But yet it was. And all I can say is heaven, the Lord Almighty, has a new warrior by his side. As a new warrior in the kingdom. He has a new warrior by his side. And all I can say in the end is thank you, Ultimate Warrior. Thank you, Jim Hellwig. Thank you for all the memories you had given us. Thank you for all the great moments. Thank you for all the great matches. What's funny is, within the span of a few years, we've lost Savage and Warrior. Two guys that at WrestleMania 7, the first major WrestleMania I ever saw, had what was considered the match of the year, if not the match of the night. If not one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. And this would be the second year in a row Warrior would have a match of the night at WrestleMania, or have one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. Because the following year, he had the match of the night. He had one of the greatest matches in Mania history with Hogan at WrestleMania 6. And then he followed that up with probably an even better match and better performance with Savage. And now both are up above in heaven. And all I can say is if they want to do a rematch one more time, I say God, Lord Almighty, let Warrior and Savage have that rematch up there. Because I guarantee you there's a lot of wrestling fans down here and up there that would love to see it. And again, all I can say is Warrior, thank you. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the great moments. Thank you for the great matches. You will surely be missed. And all I can say is WWE, please keep the legacy of this guy going. You don't have to paint someone up like the Warrior anymore. Just find someone that has a similarity to the Warrior. And as one of his last requests, let the Warrior legacy live on. Find that next Ultimate Warrior. But let them be themselves, but have the impact Warrior did, because I know Warrior will love nothing more. So again, thank you, Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig, for everything you gave to the business, everything you gave to the fans. And believe me when I say this, your legacy will never die, and that we Ultimate Warrior fans will keep it alive, and that we will find the next superstar diva that will carry on the legacy of the Ultimate Warrior. Will be this year, this generation's, this era's new warrior. We will find him or her, and they will, in our eyes, be carrying on that spirit of your legacy. Again, thank you. Thank you for everything. You will be missed, and I know I'm not the only one that agrees with that. Goodbye, warrior. You'll never be forgotten.